Hello, and Assalamu alaikum to friends of Pakistani KNIME. Hope you all are enjoying KNIME. As usual, today's episode is also short, brief, and sweet. I sincerely hope you will all learn something today. Please be generous to comment and give feedback so that we all could learn from each other. Okay, so without further delay, let's begin today's learning. Today's episode is dedicated to the notes that will help us manipulate or play with the dates. And to be clear, what I meant is calendar dates, not the days which we all missed because we cannot afford to go out because of our workload we have. Today, we'll learn on how to use these notes in a way that will give greater meaning to our analysis, that will help you and your managers to make better decisions and create wealth, profitability, growth, or reduction in expenses. However, please don't get disappointed because KNIME is here to bring joy and fun back to your life. And believe me, once you master a few things in KNIME, you'll have lots of time to spend with your friends and family. And who knows, you may go on a real date as well. Today's problem is from a friend who's having trouble with actual transaction dates versus his formula to calculate monthly information. What she wants is to use the dates which is either the last day of the month or the first day of the month. Though she could do the same in Excel file, however, because her time span is spread over 15 years, then you could imagine how how many minutes she would be spending in formatting the dates with copy, paste, VLOOKUP, date formulas, and many others. And imagine if she has to do this couple of times every week. Okay, so without further ado, let's help our friend. As explained in my first slide, I haven't explained it. As mentioned in my first slide, right? So today we will be discussing 6 nodes: time generator, date field extractor, time shift, rule engine, math formula, and column filter. Okay, so what the heck these nodes are? Let's explore. So first node that we will be used is time generator. As the name states, it generates time value with a certain number of equidistant entries and with a configurable time period. How the node looks like. So this dialog box open once you open the configuration. So the first generated rows, I will come back to you that how I come up with 5,347. But this is the number of rows, how many number of rows you want in your table, right? So as you can see from the node is that you could add, you use execution time as starting time. Select this option to use the execution time of the node as a start time from starting point of the time series to end point of the time series. You could see that my starting point is 1st of April 2020 and the end point is 31st of March 2035. This is 15 years or 5,347 days because in the data I want one line for each day of the month. So that's why I have calculated 5,347. This you could do very simply by using an Excel difference between the two dates. That's how I calculated. In this case, I have used an example of only dates. If your data is in such a way that you need the information in seconds, minutes, or hours, then you can also use the option of use time, where you could put the starting time and the end time. Second node that we have used is date field extractor. As the name says, extracts the selected date field from a date time column and append the values as an integers. Available fields are year, quarter, month, day of the week. If these values are not set in the day, cell will bring missing values. How the node looks like, right? So this dialog box again will open when you start configuration. So because my table that I have generated had only one column, which is date and time, So here I'm selecting that column, and then I'm saying that, okay, do I need a year? No, I don't need a year. Do I need a quarter? 1, 2, 3, 4? No, I don't need a quarter. Do I need a month? No, I don't need a month name there like January, February, or March. Like my starting, like it means that if my date is 1st of April 2020, then the year would be 2020, quarter would be 2 because it's April, May, and June is the second quarter of the year, and the month would be April. I only need the day of the month, means that 1st of April would be first day, 15th of April would be 15th day, 27th of April would be the 27th day. And then we could also name those columns. By default, the names are coming year, quarter, month, day of the month, day of the week, day of the year. Once I show you the workflow, then we will see that, okay, what I do with this. However, for the time being, I use the default name, day of the month. So then the third node that we have used is the math formula. So this node evaluates a mathematical expression based on the values in the row. Right, the computed results can be either appended as a new column or be used to replace an input column. Let's see how it looks like. Okay, so this is the formula, math formula. So in this case, you could see that what I did is that after extracting day of the month, I have multiplied it by -1. And I have, instead of replacing the column, I have used append the column, and I rename it as a new column, as well as I have selected convert to integers. So we could also, not only apply the formula numerical presentation, but we could also give it a numerical integer. The next node, the fourth node that we have used is that date and time shift, or you could use date time shift legacy. But as you know that the legacy nodes will be inactive in future, I would suggest that if you want to continue to use it for years, then use the date and time shift instead of the legacy one. This node shifts the date time with a defined granularity. What does it mean? Do you want those dates to be extended by 1 day, 2 day, or whatever? I'll explain it later. The user can select the date reference and shift value. The date can be chosen as date and time column, or you could rename it as the execution time or as a fixed enter date. The shift value will be achieved by using a numerical column, right? Remember in the previous one, I have converted into the integer because I needed to use some numerical. However, it is also possible to use a constant shift. Okay. How this node looks like. Okay, so this is the node, how it will look like. So you could see that I am using the use shift value from a column, or right. So I have given some column reference where I say that, okay, use this one, and that column is new column, and the granularity is given day, month, year, or it could be anything. The name of the column would be shift and date, and use date and time column. Right, so I said that use the date and time column. It's apply the formula, apply the add or subtract whatever the value is in new column, and then subtract that value with the date and column. Right, and as an output, I need them as an output rather than a time or a millisecond. The fifth node that we have used is rule engine. This node takes a list of user defined rules and tries to match them to each row in the input table. If a rule matches, its outcomes value is added in a new column. The first matching rule in order of definition determines the outcome. Okay, so what formula I have given? I have said that, okay, day of the month is equal to 31, then put 31. If day of the month is less than 31, then put 32. There's a logic behind it. I know that there is no month more than 31 days, but I am saying 32. I'll come to that trick later. And I said that, okay, replace the column of day of the month. The sixth node that we have used is column filter. This node allows columns to be filtered from the input table while only the remaining columns are passed to the output table. Within the dialog, columns can be moved between the include and exclude list. How does the dialog look? This is that. Right, so there are many columns, like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 columns, but because of my use is only 3 columns, so that I say that I only want 3 columns, and whatever calculation and the outcomes of those calculation comes in my workflow, I don't want them. Right, so there are some I have used manual selection. Include in this list contains the name of those columns in the input table to be included in the output table. Exclude, this list contains the name of those columns in the input table to be excluded from the output table. Filter, use one of these fields to filter either the include or exclude list for certain columns, names, and name substrings. Okay, so how my workflow looks like. So the workflow, let's see, first we use the time generator, where we have given one row for each day of the 15 years. Then we have extracted the legacy, that what is the year, day of the month, right? 1, 2, 3. Then we have applied math formula. Then we have again math formula of which day. Then we shift the date from whatever our base date, and then shifting it from what the math formula says. Then we further extracted, then we applied some rule engine, again math formula, then again shift, and then the output. And our outputs, like, see this date of the month, you could see that date of the month is 3rd June, but still it's calculating what is the first day of the month. 1st June, whether it's 21st June, first day of the month is always July, 2nd July is 1st July, right? So and last day of the month is 30th June for the month of June. For the month of July, it's 31st July. Let's go to our KNIME, real KNIME, and then see that how it works. Okay, so this is the workflow, how it looks like in the KNIME. And the first node that is used is time generator. Time generator means that we want to generate the number of days for the 15 years, right? So I mentioned that there is 15 years starting from 1st of April 2020, and then the end point is 31st of March. So, and what I did is that, because I want to have one row for each number of day, so that's why I calculated the difference between 31st of March 2025, 35 to 2020 of April, and these are 5,347. And that's how I generated the number of days for each row for each day of the month, right? So you could say it's 12 March, 31st of March, and there is no gap in between the dates. And the starting point for this one is 1st of April. As noted that in the time legacy, it comes from the starting point 1st of April, and the end point is 31st of March. Then the next node that we have used is the date time extract. So in this case, what we are saying is that from the date of the month, so like whatever the date is, we want to know that, okay, which day of the month is, meaning that that if it's 14th of April, then it's the 14th day, 29th of April, then it's 29th, 6th of May would be the 6th, right? So why we did this is that because we want to shift the date in later and then come up to the last day of the previous month, right? So say 1st of April minus 1 day is 31st of March. 2nd of April, 2 days, 31st of March. 10th April minus 10 days is the 10th of 31st of March. However, unfortunately, the date and shift work only on the columns. Like I could select a day of the month and then say, okay, shift the date. It will be positive date. So 10th April would become 20th of April. 9th April would become 9th of April. So what I want a column with a negative value. So for that purpose, I use a math formula, and the configuration that I have given is say that whatever the day of the month is calculated 1, 2, 3, 4, or 15, multiply it by the -1. And the new column I want and the column I want a new column, and the new column name I have given a new column. You could give anything. And one more thing is that the shifting works as a number as explained earlier. That's why I am also selecting it, convert it to integer. Okay, did we got the result? Yes, we did, right? So see, it's +1 -1, +14 -14. 23 minus 23, 3 minus 3. So what I would do next is that I say that, okay, date and time, and then use this column, new column, and then subtract the days. 25th of April minus 25 days is 31st of April, 31st of March. So you could see this from the configuration. What I said is that date and time shift. I said that instead of using any number or value, use the column where I have calculated those, and then I say, okay, new column, right? And I want the granularity in number of days, because if you remember, the table generated is one row per day of the month. And the new column name I have given is shift date, and the column where this shifting should be applied is date and time column. And I want the information in date, not in time, not in millisecond. So did I get the results? Oh yes, right? So 11th of April minus 11 days is 31st. 7th of May minus 7 days is last day of the month. And if I look, right, 31st of January minus 31 days is 31st of December of previous year. Okay, why? Okay. Then the next column which I have used is date and time extractor. So now what I wanted to do is that I want the dates like 31st of March, and now I want the last day, right? So I want to know that, okay, what is the day of the month for the shift date. It's the same way which I have calculated the day of the month for the actual date, actual transaction date. I am using the, and I will come back to that later, little later. But I have calculated, so you could see this. March has 31 days, April has 30 days. Let's check February. February of 2023 has 28 days, right? Okay, so it means that it is also considering the next one. I have used a rule engine. So for the rule engine, what I did is that, and I will come back to you because I also, it took me a moment to put this formula. So what I'm saying is that if the day of the month is 31, then put 31. But if it is not 31, then put 32. And each row is a formula, right? So it's kind of a say your right. So and then I say that, okay, I want it to be replaced. I want it to replace the day of the month, right? So the previous one which we calculated as 31 and 30 and 28 is easy, right? So let's see, did we get that output? Oh yes, right. So you see that the previous were 31, and now because April has 30, and my formula was my rule engine that if it is 31, then keep it 31. If it is 30, then or 30 or any other day, then make it 32. Then I again apply the math formula, and this math formula, what I said is that whatever the new formula is calculated, then add the 31 at the real column. Let's see the output, right? So what I have done in this one is that use this date, and then apply this one, -1 or -2, whatever the value is, and then add one more day, right? So like for example, 31 -1 is 30, but then again subtract further -1 and then it becomes 29. Same thing, 31 minus 9 and then it becomes 21, right? 31 minus 9 is 22 and then further subtract 1, then it becomes 21. As we go forward, we will understand the logic of this one. So whatever the new day of the month from the last day of the previous month calculated, then add the new column which is separate, and then further subtract 1 day. Okay. And then I use the shift legacy, and what is the objective of doing that is that you could see this. This is how what I'm saying is that okay, so previous, so this become 29, and now what I say is that use this, right? So now I'm calculating last day of the month. So how I calculated last day of the month? Remember this formula? Take day of the month, then add this new column to this, 31 minus 1 is 30, and then further subtract 1 becomes 29. Take this example, 31 days minus 11 days is 20, and then further minus 19, right? And see how I am getting this one. So last day, so what formula I have used is that now what I'm shift date is that I'm saying that 1st of April and then at 29 days, then I will get the last day of that month. 3rd of April at 27 days, then I get the last day of the month. 23rd April at 7 days, then I get the last day of the month. 5th May at 26 days, then I get the 31st of May. See, that's the logic of adding this new column and putting a funky formula, the day of the month plus this -1, right? But you could see this is how I am getting the last day of the month. However, I also need now the first day of the month. So for the first day of the month, what I did is that last day of the month, let's see, right? Last day of the month, and then I have applied, let's see what right? So here I'm saying that now I'm saying that the shift value from column. So in this case, now I don't want it from column. I'm saying that shift is static value, right? So static value is 1. I just want 1 day minus, and then it will be first day of the month, and I use the shift date, right? Let's see what is the shift date, right? So shift date is 31st, and now I want 1 day next, right? Next day of this date, next date of this date, and then what will happen is that I will get the first day. So see this one, this was my date. From this date, I calculated what is the last day of the previous month. From the last day of the previous month, I calculated that, okay, how many days are there in the previous month? And then I put a formula like, it's from the last day of the previous one, because we know that fortunately the calendar works 31, 30 and 31 and 30 days. So that's why it works like 31 and then minus the new column, whatever the difference is, and then further -1 and then 29. So first of it, and then we got the last day. So in this formula, what I did is that I say that shift date and then add 1 more day from that, right? So that we could get the first day of the month. So this is let's see, did we got the first day of the month? Yes, we got the first day of the month. So April, May, all dates of May are May, and then like December is 1st December, 31st December, November, 30th November, 1st November. So we got the first day of the month and last day of the month. And because we have done some manipulation, data manipulation, we don't want all of this information. Like for example, what columns are relevant is that what is my transaction date, what is my first day of the month and what is my last day of the month. So what I did is that I put a column filter and I extracted all of that information, day of the month, new column, shift date, day of the month, and new column. And I say I only want to have the actual transaction date, last day of the month, and first day of the month. And did we get it? Yes, we did. Okay. So last day of the month. So this is how, so now what we will not now what we will do is that we will give this table to our friend and then she could use it however she wants. I think that what she would be doing is that she would be applying simple VLOOKUP. There's a separate video on how to apply VLOOKUP or joiner nodes and to look at. However, we could do that in, we could refer to that video. One question I want to leave it for you is that, it's actually what I want to have is that the in this way, like date of the month, and I will say first day of the month, then last day of the month. However, and whenever I am extracting this output, I'm always getting last day of the month first and first day of the month. So I want you to give your comment and advise me how could I shift these columns so that I would have the sequence that I want.